Imagine this. It's 1980 and you're just about to start your dream job. It's taken years of working your way up through the junior ranks to get to where you are now. The only problem is, the man who is going to be your boss has just been assassinated. And the man who replaces him as your boss will also be assassinated in a few years' time, as will some others you're going to work with. Eventually, you too will be killed. The job is investigating the heroin trade run by the Cosa Nostra, otherwise known as the Sicilian Mafia. Is this a job worth risking your life for? Well, for Giovanni Falcone at least, the answer seems to have been yes. Hello my friend, I'm Aslan Bahari and this is Assassins, the show where we tell the stories of the world's most shocking assassinations. Today, Giovanni Falcone, arguably the most important anti-mafia magistrate in Italian history. By the way, this is the second in a two-part series. Episode 1 is about Judge Cesare Terranova, if you want to check that out first. Terranova is the boss who was assassinated just before Giovanni Falcone started his new job in the Palermo prosecutor's office. Judges like Terranova laid the groundwork for fighting the Sicilian Mafia and paid with their lives. But Giovanni Falcone came in and revolutionized things, leading to the world's biggest trial and the first major win against the Mafia bosses. Falcone's work shattered the myth that the Mafia was invincible. Giovanni Falcone was born in Palermo, the Sicilian capital, in 1939, just as World War II was kicking off. One of his two sisters described him as profoundly Sicilian, and the family grew up in a comfortable and happy home. As a boy, he played in a local ping pong tournament against Tommaso Spadaro, who grew up to become a feared mafia smuggler and killer. Other neighborhood kids also ended up in the mafia. So, from early in life, Falcone developed an understanding of these self-described men of honor. He once said, quote, "If we want to effectively fight the mafia, we mustn't turn it into a monster or think of it as an octopus or a cancer. We have to recognize that it resembles us." So how did Giovanni Falcone manage to do what many judges before him couldn't? How did he take on the Cosa Nostra and win? It's 1982 and Tommaso Buscetta has received some devastating news from back home. Buscetta is a loyal and high-ranking member of the Sicilian Mafia. The Mafia has been his life. Now, in his mid-50s, he joined when he was a teenager. 2 years earlier, Buscetta fled Italy after being let out of prison on day release. He'd made it all the way to Brazil, familiar territory for him. You see, he used to run smuggling operations from Latin America. But right now, he wishes he was back in Sicily. 2 of his sons have gone missing. They appear to be the latest casualties in the Second Mafia War, better known as La Matanza, Italian for the slaughter. The Cosa Nostra has long had its internal tensions and tit-for-tat killings. But this is a whole new level of violence. The slaughter started when the Corleonese crime family took out 2 other Cosa Nostra family bosses. First, they shot Stefano Bontade to death with an AK-47. A month later, they gunned down Salvatore Inzerillo shortly after leaving the home of his mistress. There were so many bullets in his body that he was unrecognizable, and it all just escalated from there. Over the next few years, hundreds of members of the Cosa Nostra would be killed. The bodies of Tommaso Buscetta's sons would never be found. It left their father heartbroken and disillusioned, and perhaps ready to talk. When Giovanni Falcone starts his new job as a magistrate in the prosecutor's office in Palermo, he quickly identifies a few major stumbling blocks. For one, investigators don't really understand how the mafia's global narcotics trade works. Potential witnesses aren't willing to break the mafia's formidable code of silence. And even if they wanted to, the witness protection system is weak and unreliable. And then there's the problem of the law itself. They could charge low-ranking mafia with killings or drug crimes, but that doesn't get you to the top crime bosses, those who are good at staying arm's length from the dirty work. There's no law that deals with the organised part of organised crime in southern Italy, but that's about to change. It's 1984. Mafioso Tommaso Buscetta is captured in Brazil and extradited to Italy. The first person he asks to speak to is the prosecuting magistrate Giovanni Falcone. To get Buscetta on side, Falcone promises a better protection program for him and, importantly, his remaining family members. In the past, it was common for family members of informants to be killed in retribution. Buscetta accepts the offer, and the two men sit down together for 45 days. And they talk about everything. This is a huge break for Falcone, something he's long dreamt of. Buscetta tells him how the Cosa Nostra works. It's the first time such a high-ranking member has turned informant. What Buscetta tells Falcone over those 45 days leads to what's considered the world's largest criminal trial, featuring 475 defendants. The trial is held in a secure bunker courtroom in a Palermo prison, built especially to hold a trial with such a huge number of defendants. It becomes known as the Maxi trial, or Maxi processo, and Giovanni Falcone is the lead prosecutor. The FBI estimates that between 1975 and 1983, the heroin trade from Sicily into the United States was worth over $1.5 billion US. During his investigation, Falcone learns a lot about the large and complex drug trade that stretches across 4 continents. The opium comes from Southeast Asia, is processed into a morphine base in Turkey, and then makes its way to Italy. In secret labs in Sicily, it's turned into heroin, and from there, it's smuggled into North America, landing in places like New York and New Jersey. The heroin is often brought in via pizza parlors being run as drug fronts for the mafia. This earns it the nickname, the Pizza Connection. Oh, and Switzerland is implicated too, providing a convenient place to launder the proceeds of the hugely lucrative trade. Good old Swiss banks doing what they do best. We know all this because of a couple of key findings that Judge Giovanni Falcone and his team pieced together, using what's sometimes called the Falcone method. Basically, you follow the money. Falcone forces Sicilian banks to hand over the account details and financial transactions of suspected mafiosi. He then wades through reams of printouts, slowly connecting the people with the money. Earlier work in bankruptcy law left Falcone meticulous and wily. He also goes global with his investigations, something the Italians didn't really do back then. So he travels to America to work with investigators there. They share intel and make connections between Sicilian mafia and the distributors in North America. All of which leads to an important first victory for Falcone: 74 convictions in Sicily. However, the biggest court case of all was looming on the horizon: the Maxi trial. There was just one element that was missing. It's 1980. While Falcone unravels the complex global heroin trade, another man is about to provide the final piece of the puzzle. Enter Pio La Torre, a Sicilian peasant leader turned Communist Party member of the Italian parliament. He grew up in a house with no electricity or running water. La Torre knows that it's one thing to convict individual mafiosi, but it's another to catch the big bosses, the ones giving the orders. So from his office in Rome, Pio La Torre drafts a law of conspiracy that targets unlawful association. This law would be revolutionary because it would finally make it possible to charge the mafia bosses. But for a year, nothing happens. The legislation just sits there. Pio La Torre realizes it's going nowhere, and so he quits Rome and heads back to Sicily to work for a new job. It's April 1982. Pio La Torre and his bodyguard are heading down a one-way street in Palermo, A car blocks their path, trapping them. A team of 5 assassins starts shooting. The Sicilian Mafia Commission has ordered this hit for even trying to pass a law against them. Pio's bodyguard manages to return fire, but it's not enough. The Mafia hit is successful. Both men are dead. The public outrage over Pio La Torre's assassination has one positive outcome. 4 months after his death, the Italian parliament finally passes the Rognoni La Torre law, allowing prosecutors to charge mafia bosses with criminal conspiracy. So now, our magistrate Giovanni Falcone has everything he needs to take on the Cosa Nostra. It's February 1986 and the world's largest trial has begun. 475 mafia charged. 100 or so will be tried in absentia because they're on the run from the law. The chief prosecutor in the Maxi trial is Giovanni Falcone. It's his life's work, but it will be 6 exhausting years before this case is over. The courtroom looks like a giant reinforced fortress, with hundreds of chairs and desks for defendants, lawyers, and witnesses. And the star witness in the Maxi trial? That's Tommaso Buscetta, the high-ranking mafiosi turned state's witness after his family members were murdered in the brutal mafia war. Buscetta lays out everything he knows to the court, the Cosa Nostra's rules, structure, and decision-making. 338 mafia members are convicted in the Maxi trial. A few later win on appeal, others stay in hiding for years, but hundreds are imprisoned. It's a massive blow to the idea that the Cosa Nostra is untouchable. Time for Giovanni Falcone to take a well-earned rest. Or so you'd think. It's May the 23rd, 1992, a few months after the Maxi trial. Giovanni Falcone is now 53 years old. He and his wife Francesca Morvillo are driving home along the highway from Palermo Airport. Francesca Morvillo is one of Italy's first female judges, and the two have been married for 6 years. Traveling just ahead of the couple in a second vehicle are 3 bodyguards. An assassin waits on the side of the highway. When he spots them coming towards him, he presses a remote-controlled detonator and 200 kilograms of TNT explodes right under the car driven by the bodyguards. The vehicle flies into the air and lands near an olive tree. Falcone and Morvillo's car then slams into a low cement wall and the two fly out of the front windscreen. Neither were wearing seatbelts. All 5 of them are killed. The explosives had been hidden in a tunnel under the highway, which doesn't even look like a highway anymore. Everywhere you look, there's destruction. This was an over-the-top, dramatic assassination, carried out to instill a sense of fear and awe, and to give back some of the power the mafia had just lost. It's a pretty clear message. This is what we can do to people who mess with us. These days, as you travel on the A29 highway between Palermo Airport and the city, you might spot 2 red marble obelisks, one on each side of the highway. They commemorate the spot where Judge Falcone, his wife and 3 bodyguards were killed in May 1992. People still often leave flowers. Years after the death of Giovanni Falcone, a mafia informant confirmed the assassination was revenge for the Maxi trial. The Corleonese boss, Salvatore Rina, had put the proposal to the Sicilian Mafia Commission, and the commission gave it the green light. It's claimed that after Falcone was killed, Salvatore Rina popped a bottle of champagne in celebration.